Alright, welcome everyone. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for waiting. So, as you guys can say, that the markets have finally pulled back. And we've been at a record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days on a run. And I believe, yeah, that is a record. Okay, so again, 1, 2, let's start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 days to the upside. That is a true record here. And so, today's distribution price action was definitely needed. I mean, it was really, we're just squeezing for a pullback, and that's exactly what we got. Now, hey Joel, what's up? Take some pussy today. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. Yeah, so I got stopped out on some positions, and then I added into some long-term positions. But overall, I didn't do much today. I decided to just not really do much. I mean, I did extremely well during this run up here, so it just felt like a day where I just need to step back, not do anything. Let the market pull back to its previous resistance levels, turn it into new supports, and we're good to go from there. So that was my entire day today. But overall, again, we are in a distribution now, right? We're trying to finally hit the brakes, pull back, find some new support, and then continue to move up higher. So currently, right now, let's talk about futures overnight. So futures are seeing a slight bounce after moving a little bit lower compared to today's close and lows, right? And right now, it's still adhering to the daily 50 SMA. And all of this is happening as we finally got that bullish crossover of the 10 SMA over the 21 SMA on the daily time frame. So that's good. Short term, that's very bullish. I mean, even without the SMAs, you can clearly tell that the short term trend is to the upside, right? With this V-shaped recovery. So now, as I've said multiple times, we're looking for at least 1 to 2% pullback. So what could that mean? So if you go from the highs of today, right? So somewhere around here, okay, we've already pulled back about 1.25%, okay? And for a 2% pullback, right, we should be sitting around 4.325, right, on SPY futures. And so that kind of aligns with where we need to be retesting the daily 10 SMA. And so if you kind of translate that over onto SPY, right? So now let's look at the percentages on SPY now. Okay. Somewhere around here, I would say. Try to be as precise as possible. Okay. All right. We've had a nice 1% move to the downside today. Okay. And if we make another 1% move down, we're going to come right back down to 429.50. So that is a 2% move. All right, so at the start of this week, I told you guys that 429.50 is going to be the retest so that we can bounce right? And then we see a consolidation. And that's the reason why I've also drawn this price pattern here, right? This potential price pattern where we pull back, we retest 437, and then we pull back and back test 429.50, and then we see that bounce, right? And then we start consolidating, moving sideways. So that's exactly what is currently happening right now, and I completely expect this gap to be filled by the end of this week, so tomorrow, right? Now, again, we can bounce at the daily 50 SMA, so somewhere around 433 tomorrow, and then have another very tight day tomorrow, and we might even just, who knows, we might just retest 437 too, because currently the volatility has increased once again. How do we know this? Well, look at the VIX. The VIX finally had its redemption day where we bounced right back over 15, the value of 15. So with the volatility compression from the last week and a half or so, okay, SPY is about to see an increase in the daily range. And that's exactly what we got today as we moved around 3.41 points, or about 0.78%. Okay, negative 0.78%. So again, you know, the volatility is going to be expected for the next, well, tomorrow and to next week. I'm just telling you guys now that tomorrow, if we do have a Green Friday, just expect a bounce around 433 on SPY, and then possibly even a retest of 437 since we just broke below it today. All right, so we can test it again, a little tiny back test, and then we start moving back down into next week, and we fill this gap into next week, and then we retest 429.50 and then bounce. All right, that's exactly what I've drawn here. All right, so again, 429.50 has to be retested, and from the highs that we have now, the current highs of today, and we retrace it back down, 429.50 is nearly a perfect 2% pullback. All right, so this 2% pullback, again, it may or may not happen. All I'm looking for, again, is just this gap fill. All right, this is the first gap fill that we need to fill in. All right, and I need to see a 100% gap fill, not a 50%, 25% gap fill, not a tiny gap fill. We need it 100%. So this gap, again, has to be filled 100% in order for us to have any type of a significant bounce. And you know, if we do see an accelerated move to the downside, either tomorrow or into next week, depending on whether we bounce at 433 or at the daily 50 SMA, again, that's kind of relatively the same area. We should be seeing into next week a gap fill and then a retest at 429.50, and eventually at that 429.50, we'll be retesting the daily 10 SMA. We'll see a coinciding retest of the daily 10 and the horizontal previous resistance level of 429.50. And so that's where everyone is expecting to see a bounce, right? We're looking at a 1 to 2% pullback. We've already gone down about 1%, okay, over 1% actually. And you know, if we do see another pullback of another percentage, we will be seeing a 2% pullback, and that's kind of to be expected, right? Especially after a run like this, a really good pivot off of this demand area that I told you guys from 409 to 415. All right, I'm pretty sure you guys remember that. So, you know, we're playing with supply and demand areas, and so far we are now back into a supply area, right? Yes, we did see a very nice run up over 429.50 all the way up to 437, but judging by today's volume, the price volatility, the price range in itself, and the candlestick here, we're starting to see the sellers coming back. So 429.50 to 437 may just be a new supply area that we need to be looking out for in the short-term perspective. Okay, so let me actually make that little indication here. Okay, this is our current supply area. All right, if you guys like to use little supply and demand areas, this is a area that you guys need to be looking at. So again, long term though, I am still very, very bullish. I mean, just take a look on the weekly or monthly time frames, and you guys will see why. You guys will definitely see why we need to be bullish. Okay, I mean, just last week's candlestick. I mean, this is this is pretty good, right? Even if it's off of lower volume than usual, right? This is bigger, at least on the weekly time frame, over the average weekly volume, right? So last week we had a total volume of around 460 million, compared to an average weekly volume of 386 million. So, again, this pullback will probably be considered very, very bearish for all the bearish people, because they might think that, oh my god, the market's gonna crash finally after this big run up, right? But that's not really how price structure works, right? And so this is the reason why I've even drawn this really funny looking squiggly line, this potential price action, because this is how the price usually works, right? The price structure works. Okay, so that is my kind of overview on SPY for tomorrow and into the rest of, maybe even just the rest of next week, all right? So obviously everything's going to be determined by how we close tomorrow and how we move. But again, I'm going to be expecting some sort of a small bounce at 433 at the daily 50 SMA. Okay? All right, so with that, let's go over some of the other markets that I was looking at. The bond market. So TLT, huge volume, a huge amount of an order came in as well. And if you guys didn't know why the market went down, so we actually had a 30-year bond auction. And basically what happened was the auction performed badly than expected, okay, because of a hawkish Jerome Powell. So he had an opening statement at a conference today. It was an annual conference, I believe. And if you guys didn't watch it, it's kind of funny. There were some climate activists that came on stage and interrupted his opening statement, like for the first 3 to 5 minutes maybe, and they interrupted the entire conference for like 25 minutes total, 20 minutes total, I think. So go ahead and take a look at that, guys. But most importantly, Jerome Powell was again not sounding confident at all, right? Now, the only thing is, the markets seem to be completely, I guess, oversensitive is I think the correct word here to Jerome Powell's words about inflation and how worried he may sound, right? But again, inflation is down, right? And so I'm thinking that at this point, Jerome Powell and his Federal Reserve members, the board members and the governors, I think they're just trying to cover their asses here, right? They're trying to make sure that they're doing the best as possible to make sure that the markets are convinced and confident in the Federal Reserve to bring down inflation to their 2% target. Because again, I've said this, I believe earlier this year, like really early this year, that it seems like people aren't confident in the 2% target. And so what that could mean is that there's a possibility or a chance that the market is expecting the Federal Reserve to change their price target for inflation. So maybe around the 3% range, right? 3 to 4% range, somewhere in between. And so I think right now they're trying to make sure that they don't have to change their targets for inflation. Because if they do, that's going to further discredit their ability to control inflation, right? So, that's just one of my own personal thoughts. I'm pretty sure some people might disagree, or some people may agree with me as well. But overall, that's what I think. And that's the reason why I think Powell was being a little bit hawkish today. But again, rates, right? Since TLT moved down, rates obviously moved up, right? The 10-year Treasury yield, right? So if I even look at, 1 second, let's type in here, all right? 10-year, should be here. Well, I guess not. So I think I forgot the ticker name. But anyways, TNX, same thing. So the TNX here, I look at this pretty often now because the markets are still slightly sensitive to the overall bond markets and the bond yields. And so far, TNX has caught a bid at the daily 50 SMA, right? I kind of expected that. I mean, we're going to be chopping around here. And so far, we're still making lower lows and lower highs. Okay, so I think for now, we're going to see a retest of the 10 SMA, which is now obviously crossed below the 21. So short term, we're still in a bearish downtrend on the bond yields. All right, but just candlestick wise here, right, we're still making lower lows and lower highs. And until we break that, I'm going to be confident that we're going to be seeing lower lows and lower highs, or a textbook downtrend in the bond yield, which means bonds are going to go up higher, right? TLT, right, 20 plus year, or IEI, the 3 to 7 year treasury bonds. Okay, so at some point I'm going to look to add onto my really long positions. I have position trades on both of these two tickers, so I'm going to be looking to add maybe possibly into next week. But the one thing that you guys should know is that if bond yields continue to trudge up on higher, and eventually, right, the 10-year hits that daily 10 SMA, maybe even tomorrow, maybe next week, equity markets will pull back again, right? They will pull back. That's guaranteed. Okay, so we can see a continuation of the downtrend that we just started today. All right, so I think it's pretty evident that we have been needing a pullback, so it shouldn't come as a surprise as to why we pull back today. We've been really just steaming into resistance, heavy levels of resistance and supply areas on the intradays and the intraday and the daily and or even bigger time frames. So, or like some people like to call it LTF or HTF, right? Lower time frames or higher time frames. I don't use that lingo, but I know a lot of people do. So if you guys like to use those, names, and I'll use it for you guys. But with SPY overall, I think we can definitely get a bounce at 433 tomorrow. We attempted to reach it, but we ultimately failed at 433.50 because the low of the day was 433.40, and then we bounced around that whole number level of 433.50. Okay, so again, just a quick summary. We have to retest 429.50 to get a significant pullback, a 2% pullback, and at the same time, if the price decides to pull back quicker tomorrow, or if we see acceleration in the pullback, we'll be gunning for 429.50 plus the daily 10 SMA retest. So we should be getting a pretty significant bounce at this level while coinciding with the daily 10 SMA. Okay, so that is what you guys should be focusing on for the rest of this week and into next week as well. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Hey, 2 likes. Thank you guys. So I went over again bond yields, the overall bond market, and why it went down because of the 30-year bond auction that was that occurred today. Okay, and obviously the inflation terrors, right? The inflation terrors that got us in 2022 is coming back again, apparently. But again, I've also given you guys why I don't think that's going to be happening, right? And I kind of give you guys a reason why the Federal Reserve may be just doing this. But it's just my own hunch, my own personal hunch. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm not the Federal Reserve. I'm not one of the board members. I'm not one of the governors. Okay, but that's kind of my hunch on what I'm feeling there, and as to why Jerome Powell suddenly became a bit more hawkish again with his comments on inflation. Okay, so I'm going to be bringing back kind of a key point on my live streams. Do you guys have any tickers that you guys want me to go over tonight? Because again, I've been kind of chilling for today, and I don't think I have any really tickers to go over with you guys. But yeah, so if you guys have any tickers you guys want me to go over tonight, please let me know. I'll be waiting. Does anyone have any tickers that they want me to go over? Any? Hey, 3 likes. Thank you. Hey, my man, Sparky, QQQ. All right. Oh, actually, this is a good one. Yeah, let me talk about QQQ and SQQQ. So I may be getting some SQQQ tomorrow too. So keep an eye on that, guys. So QQQ definitely leading the markets. We made a higher high, right, compared to the previous high point. So I can make another. No, let's keep that there. Okay, so we have a higher high now compared to the previous pivot high point, right? So that's good. So we've hit a new uptrend. Now, with this pullback now in the overall markets, QQQ has back tested this major level of resistance that I've drawn for you guys a long time ago. All right, I mean, if you guys remember, I've drawn this back here, right, back in the start of September actually here. So this trend line is now being back tested. I expect, again, some sort of a bounce in the overall markets, which means QQQ should be bouncing slightly at this descending resistance level. Now, we're still needing of a pullback, a little further pullback. And so if we do a pullback, we're going to come back down and possibly hit 364. That's right. The Qs can move a lot more than the overall markets. So you might be seeing a huge pullback back to 364 because, again, when leaders lead, they lead, whether to the upside or to the downside. So you need to be ready for any situation here, especially for the tech market, right? So 364 is nearly 3% of a pullback, a little bit more than the overall markets. And if we do hit 364, we're most likely going to be filling in this gap as well. That was made last Thursday and last Friday, right in between these 2 days. So, you know, for QQQ, which has been very strong this entire week and has moved a lot more compared to like the S&P 500, right? NASDAQ here compared to the S&P should be having a bigger pullback as well compared to the S&P 500. All right, so my overall target for the Qs, NASDAQ, is 364. Okay, now on the other hand, I'm most likely going to be grabbing some SQQQs on a very quick intraday dip. And I'm going to be looking for a target of around 19.50. All right, so that is the next kind of liquidity area, is what I would say. Next resistance area where we should be seeing some sort of a rejection at 19.50 until we start heading back down once more. But 19.50 will be my target for any type of entry that I do tomorrow for SQQQ. Okay, so we got a nice influx of volume, nice bounce today. All the inverse names that are obviously inverse of the overall markets, like the NASDAQ, okay, they've all started to bounce higher today, including VIX. Okay, and volatility is increasing as well. All right, so hopefully that's helpful. And then SoFi, watching on the weekly. Ooh, yes. Yeah, so SoFi, this one is kind of interesting. A lot of, well, financials have been weak. We know that. But this is a financial name that's mixed with technology, right? So fintech is the shortened term, right? So financial technology name here, SoFi Technologies. It's kind of being railed, both from the financial sector and the entire tech sector going down today and even yesterday as well. We saw that first hint when we saw that big intraday spike to the downside, and then obviously that got bought up. But overall, SoFi is kind of getting railed here by both sectors. So on the weekly though, I can see what you're saying. Or I can see what you're saying. We're on that weekly 50 SMA. So that's good. That's very, very good on SoFi. But Sparky, just a little of a cautionary warning sign. I do not like it when we continue to use the 10 and the 21 on the weekly time frame as areas of resistance. All right, and it seems like, I mean, if I just take out the candlesticks here, right? Yeah, it's a descending channel. Yeah, it is a descending channel. But here's the thing, right? So the weekly 10 has crossed below the 21. That's not good. That's a bearish crossover. And the 10 SMA continues to curl down, and the 21 SMA is finally starting to curl down after relatively staying flat. And that's not a good sign. And yes, we have a descending channel, which is inherently bullish, right? That's what we saw last time. So let me even just use the same trend lines here. Let me bring it on over here. All right. So we have a nice descending channel, but what is the price doing within the channel? Moving down. That's the reason why we call it a descending channel. And so based on where the price is currently moving and currently acting, I fear that we may break below the weekly 50 SMA and possibly head back to $6. This is a heavy area and level of support. So a good range to be looking at will be around $5.50 to $6. Nice 50-cent range. But if possible, tomorrow, if we start to bounce back up over the weekly 50 SMA, which is currently sitting at $6.88, so somewhere around $6.90, okay, we should be getting a nice a bounce and possibly a starter position on this name. But yeah, what you just said there. You said, I'm looking for picking up shares, so you think I'll be able to grab some around $5 to $6? Yes. So this is a pretty critical area, okay, 5.50 to 6. Right, I've noted this in the past too, which is the reason why I have these two levels. But now I guess you can look at it from a demand perspective, right? Demand area perspective, and that's exactly what we have here. So again, descending channel, inherently bearish. That's great. Inherently bullish. That's perfect, right? But you can't forget that the price within the channel is doing what? Moving to the downside. All right, so that's a problem. That's a big problem. So it's something to think about, right? And you need to be careful, because if you're trying to get in around the weekly 50 SMA, you need to make sure you keep that stop loss tight, right? Because if you lose the weekly 50 SMA, we might see a very impulsive move to the downside, because that's what happens when we lose or retest or reclaim a major SMA. All right, I've been drilling this inside everyone's heads for the past couple of months, right, about the SMAs, right? Hey, what's up, man? What's up? So, that's something that you guys should be looking out for, right? Whenever we are near major SMAs, like the 50 and the 200 SMAs, okay? So, now, NASDAQ, obviously not looking too good, but SoFi here is also just not doing too good on the weekly. All right, so far this entire week, we pulled back this entire move that we had after earnings. I mean, that's saying something, right? That's saying something. That's truly saying something, right? So, hey, I see you guys as flying emojis. That's still pretty cool to see. I'm glad YouTube kind of updated that. That's actually pretty cool. So, hey, 5 likes. Hey, man. That's amazing. Thank you, guys. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, guys. If you guys don't have any more tickers that you guys want me to go over, I mean, that's that. That's it for tonight. Hopefully you guys are able to use my SPY and NASDAQ analysis to a T. Hopefully it does exactly what I say it does. Tomorrow, especially, I'm expecting a bounce at 433 and maybe possibly a nice pump up to 437. But who knows? Even if it's a small, tight range day, I want to see at least a nice pivot and a bounce at the daily 50 SMA. All right, and then we can start pivoting back down until we retest 429.50, which also coincides with the daily 10 SMA, and then have that nice official bounce so that we can start consolidating. And whatever bullish chart pattern that we may make, I don't know what we will do, but I want us to move sideways. All right. Okay, so that is it for tonight's live stream. Hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that's applicable for tomorrow and for next week. Thank you guys so much for joining me every single Tuesday and Thursday, and thank you guys so much for joining all these live streams. Basically, right? There's a couple of you who have been joining religiously, like literally religiously every single night. You guys have been joining, so thank you guys. I really appreciate the comments, the likes. It really helps with the YouTube engagement. It really puts out my content to other people, and it really helps with that. So thank you guys for going out of your way to click on that like button because you liked what you guys are hearing, or maybe just because you guys want to just help me. Okay, and so I really thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Right? Hey Sparky, yeah, CCJ really looking good. Really good bounce today. Unfortunately, I missed it. I was too busy looking at other stuff, especially the markets and the bond markets. But it is what it is. I'm pretty sure CCJ can really do some good stuff tomorrow as well. Okay, uranium got a nice bounce today overall. Euro is a good ticker to be looking at for the entire sector. Okay. Right, so yeah, that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you guys so much. And Sparky, I might just put something about CCJ on the Discord tonight, so make sure you check it out. Alright guys, have a great rest of your night. Good luck tomorrow, and I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday at the same time. Good night, guys.